Hi, David. How are you, man?
Good, good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much for asking. And thank you very much for taking the time out to go and do
Of
this.
course, of course.
Go and have a chat, sell some tickets for the tour.
Oh, that's the idea, right?
Yeah, it
Prostitutes.
is. Dude, we've got to pay the bills somehow. They have
I
to be paid.
know. I know.
All right, well, let's crack on. And that's we're going to talk obviously a bit about what you guys do on stage, a little bit of your history, and we'll start with that actually because I mean you guys are from Flint, Michigan,
Hmm.
which for such a small town, right, there's like 80,000 people. It's very much in the vernacular around the world for a number of things. Michael Moore loves you guys. You're in every documentary. Um, the it's known as being quite a rough town, a difficult town, a lot of violence. How has that impacted your music and your career from both the beginning to now, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, that you're actually fairly successful at what you do?
Mm, sometimes I feel like if we didn't wear it on our sleeve so much, we would be a little bit more than fairly successful. So that's pretty funny. But it's always been a part of what we're doing since the beginning, for better and for worse. So you take the good with the bad. That's kind of a little bit of an analogy for the town, and it's also the same thing with us, basically. And here we are 100 years later, and the records that we just did are called Rustbelt new metal. So it's still kicking on, I guess. We haven't ran out of things to do or say. We haven't got rich. We haven't bought any condos. We don't have wives who need Botox injections. No one's late on their mortgage. None of that stuff. Therefore, we can still make good records. We
But
don't have
talking about
weddings to
about
pay
them,
for.
talking about them two records as well. I mean, they were quite, and I believe the rumor is that there potentially could be a third. The the way that they were made was it was almost like old school. You went into a studio or a room and just recorded live in front of, I'm guessing, select fans, your closest associates. I mean, what sort of
Yeah.
energy did that give you that was different from previously?
I liked it a little bit more. It was more than almost like old school. It was more than old school actually. When Rage was making their records, they were a lot smarter than us. So they would use isolation cabs, isolation booths. Zach would overdub some stuff, put the drums in another room, things like that. We're so stupid, we put everything in the same room with 50 people and had the drums all on the vocals, had the guitars sounding like shit, used no DIs, no overdubbing, no metronome, no programming, no computer, no nothing. So it was, I don't want to say to a fault old school, but you had a good flashback and nostalgia about what it was like back then making records, and it was good. I like it more than staring at someone try to hit a take on repeat and overthinking and dialing in and then having the producer quantize, clean up, snap stuff to the grid, stuff like that. I think it's better, and I think for the first time, at least since we've been a band, 50 people got to watch us make 3 records in a year. So that probably means something to someone.
There's a vibrancy that comes with doing something live and raw, as opposed to like what you said there, just sanitizing a studio where there's the computer goes, okay, there's 400 takes of the same guitar riff. I mean, it's
Hmm.
that kind of. I mean, you mentioned Rage. In my mind, I'm also going back older school to the punk music of the late
Oh yeah,
70s, the whole
yeah, yeah,
DIY thing, and that's what made
yeah,
punk so big. Was it's just here it is and it's raw. I mean, is that something you would
yeah.
consider uh, potentially? I mean, I know there's this you mentioned there the third one, potentially doing more than that.
Yeah, I would like to. Now, I hate to sound like a drug addict, but now that we did it 3 times in a year, I can't imagine trying to go a year without doing one because So I guess the issue would be writing multiple albums a year, which that's not really that big of a deal. But yeah, it was good. It was, I don't want to say fun, but something smart about the creative process and all that stuff. Just insert whatever you would think about that because I can't really think of what it might have been. But yeah, I would like to do more of it. It's when I listen back to it, it doesn't sound better than our other records, but it's just what it is. It kind of does. I didn't think about the older school stuff, but stuff like the Mayhem and the black metal stuff, and where there was one mic in the room, we had more than one mic, but yeah, when you listen to it, you can tell either we suck or it was live because it's pretty messy or not perfect, I guess, you know?
Plenty of bands that have been criticized for doing live albums that aren't live. So
That's all of them.
you've done, yeah,
Yeah. Hate to burst everyone's bubble, but even yeah, it's bands don't even play live anymore. You have drummers who literally have their kick drum on a track. So this is just a LARPing, pantomiming, role-playing world, which is pretty gross, especially because I mean it's one thing if you're on Saturday Night Live getting caught lip syncing to pop music, but when you're talking about doing it for the love of the metal and you're wearing a Slayer shirt and getting up on stage and lip syncing, then go home, dude.
yeah. I remember seeing a very famous deathcore band, and I was watching them on stage, going, "There's three guitars. I can hear three guitars. There's only one guitarist." And that was probably the first time it really dawned on me how much is in there.
Yeah.
And is that something when you guys play? And obviously, you'll be here for 5 shows early March. Is that something you pride yourselves in, that you are such a ferocious, in-your-face live band?
Yeah. That's kind of part of the statement of doing the live records is that you can see them and be like, oh, that's what it is. And we do have a bunch of extra soundtracky elements and atmosphere and stuff like that when we do play live. Don't get me wrong, I like that stuff. It's whether it's like synths or noises or just whatever's on the record. On these records, there isn't anything, but I guess I just prefer a balance just because I like industrial music. I like electronic music, stuff like that. So we don't mind putting that stuff in there. And sometimes I feel like if there's, I don't know if this is really makes any sense, but if there's a synth maybe or a noise or something happening and, there's not someone on there playing it, which we eventually want to get someone that does all the programming and all of that stuff. It's just really hard to find someone that you gel with in that sense. But I don't feel like it's as big a deal if you have some strange noise that's not even an instrument playing behind some cinematic theatrical song. But when you're up there and your instrument's off and you're just karaoke, it's kind of I everyone can do what they want, but I would just wonder what I'd have a lot of questions for myself if that's what I were doing. So yeah,
So
that
when
was
you
part of I was just going to say that that was the one of the better things about the last handful of records because there's nothing to there's no extra stuff.
just music,
Yeah.
when your show, I mean, you were here a couple of years ago in Heart's Wake, and that was your first time here in 9 years, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
Um, when you came around and burst onto the scene in the early, late 2000s, early 2010s, there was a lot of, I don't know, maybe rumors, maybe it was true, about what your shows were like and how chaotic they could be, almost how violent they could potentially be as well. Um, when this tour turns up in a couple of weeks, like, are we on the same trajectory, or has it calmed down a little bit?
We as a band haven't calmed down at all, but it's more on the crowd. That's up to them. Just because I don't seek to control any of those people. They can just do whatever they want as far as I'm concerned. That's up to the Australian people. I'm not gonna I'm not one of those people I don't say a word to anyone while we play, so I'm definitely not going to get on the mic and start telling people for insurance purposes that they have to calm down. Again, I'll repeat, I have no wife, no mortgage, no Botox to buy, so I don't care if the show gets shut down as far as that that type of stuff. If people want to hurt each other, maybe that's that's on them.
Okay, fair enough. I'm in Adelaide, and I can assure you the venue in Adelaide is the stage is about 3 foot high, and there's no barrier. So,
Oh, that's cool.
and it's not very deep; it's more of a wide one. So, yeah, I think that one would be one of them shows where we don't you don't have to worry about the insurance. Uh,
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I remember that the things that you're saying about having dangerous shows and how um that was frowned upon, which is hilarious because I thought we played extreme music, but I guess not. But now violent shows, bands known for violent shows are winning Grammys, so maybe we were just a little too ahead of things.
well, yeah, that's what I actually wrote that down in my notes as well. Like, there's lots of shows I've been to recently. I mean, Turnstile, Speed, as an example. Shit goes down at them shows, and then I'm like. But yeah, 10, 15 years ago, everyone seemed to be very like policy about it all, and the signs were all everywhere. And I think that took away from a little bit. So I'm not saying you should encourage people, but maybe you get a
You won't
Grammy.
stop me. Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe one of these days I don't know. I don't know, man. It's really all confusing to me. I don't really think about things like that though, and none of us really do, I don't think. When we go on and play, this maybe could be a fault or a negative thing in some people's eyes, but we don't even engage with the audience. So we are back there, we get into the zone that we're going to be in, we walk on stage, we play the whole show, and we say thanks and leave. And I've never once told anyone what to do as far as, and I've never told anyone what not to do. So the zone that we're in when we're playing is our zone and it's happening on the stage and they can do whatever they want. They can all get up and leave for all I care. I'm still going to be in my zone doing whatever I came to do.
Yeah. Um, well, where I haven't got long, we've spoken very briefly about the third part of your Rustbelt trilogy. What sort of time frame are we looking at that will hopefully be out by?
This spring equinox, so
Oh,
a
soon.
month, yeah, 5 weeks. We've got two songs out from it right now. The whole record is acoustic, unplugged type of thing. So just to switch it up in the trilogy, give a different look so they're not all the similar feeling. We try to make each record unique, I guess, so people might have a preference or a favorite of the, or even if this time this one might be preferred, and then as time goes by, they might pick up one of the other ones and say, "Oh, I like this one better now," or something like that.
I've noticed that like through your career. I mean, at the beginning, it was a lot about where you're from, but some of your later stuff, and I've noticed like the Egyptian stuff in the background there, has
Mhm.
almost been delving into the spiritual world. Is
Yeah,
that something that's really important to you moving forward as well?
that's always been important to me. That I just kind of maybe it was an evolution of the music and things like that. But if you go back to the first record, even you'll find traces of that stuff. And so it's just been evolving, and as I go on more journeys and more discover more things, I think it's kind of making itself more apparent just naturally, not really a mindful decision, but someone said that the other day though, same thing. And then I was like pulled up the first record and showed them a handful of things on there and then they were like, wow, I didn't even notice that. So yeah, I've always been interested in this stuff. I guess I just don't really, not really a public persona wearing
Mm.
things on my sleeve, I guess, or not as vocal about it or loud about it. But yeah, it's it's an area of interest, I guess you could say,
I
since as far as
suppose.
back as I can remember, actually.
Well, I think I'm not. I shouldn't take up any more time because I know you've got other stuff to do.
You're
So,
good.
best of luck with the tour. We'll see you here on the 4th of March in
Ah,
Adelaide, and
thanks.
I'll send you back to Janine. Thank you for your time, David.
Thank you. See you later.
Thank you. Thanks, Janine.